up, YouTubers? Oh, gotta get this camera set up right. Gosh, dang it. Well, thought I had it set up right. That don't work either. Okay, I'm going over my March Madness picks with you, one by one, individually. Dang. Okay. That works. Okay, so individually, one by one. First, we'll start with the South bracket. And honestly, I haven't watched that much basketball this year. Well, I have, just not college basketball. And so a lot of these are based off of gut feelings and teams that I like, or that I've liked in the past. And some of them are legitimate upsets that I think will happen. And then my championship game is based off a game that I watched a few weeks ago. And you guys will see that. You have to stay tuned. Let's see if I can flip it this way. And that'll be a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so my first picks, I wish I could click on them individually. So I got Virginia winning, obviously. Creighton and Kansas. I really have liked Kansas's team, but I went with Creighton over Kansas. And then the big, I think I have two 12-5 upsets. My first one's Kentucky. I think Davidson can beat them. I think Kentucky is a little too young, and I think the pressure is going to get to them. So I'm hoping that Davidson can pull it off. And I always like watching John Calipari lose. Arizona will win. They've got the best player, or supposedly the best player in the draft. I think they'll easily beat Buffalo. Now this next game, the Miami and Loyola Chicago. I haven't watched Loyola Chicago, but all the, I guess, professionals or analysts are saying that Chicago could easily beat Miami. But I remember watching Miami play North Carolina, and I was really impressed with their team. I got to take these glasses off so the glare's not there. I was really impressed with their team, how they played against North Carolina. I thought they played really up-tempo, and their defense was locked down. They were just really gritty, so I'm having that as my 6th seed go pretty far in this tournament. My whole bracket's now filled out. What the heck? I think they'll meet up with Virginia. I have them upsetting Tennessee in the second round, and I almost picked Miami to go to the Final Four, but I couldn't. I guess I wanted to play it safe. I have 2 number 1 seeds and 2 number 2 seeds in the Final Four. So Virginia, their 6th man is out. He's the 6th man of the year. I can't remember his name now. So that was the only reason I feel like Miami might have a chance to beat them. I think Arizona might even beat Virginia in the Sweet 16 or in the second round. So going back down the list, Tennessee and Wright, I didn't really know much about either one of these teams. I just went with Tennessee as a number 3 seed. Now, Nevada and Texas. I had originally picked Texas, but can't remember why I switched on this one. I remember hearing that the 7th seed Nevada had a bunch of scorers and shooters, played fast tempo, and I don't think that can get you very deep into the tournament, but I think for the first round, it definitely can get you somewhere. So I went with Nevada over Texas, and then Cincinnati, of course, beating Georgia State. Xavier winning. I went with Missouri over Florida State. I just like saying Mizzou, so that's why I went with Missouri over Florida State. Haven't watched either one of those teams. Now, South Dakota State. and Ohio State. This is my other 12-5 upset. I don't think I picked another 12-5 upset. No. The other one that a lot of people are saying is the Clemson, New Mexico State, but I'm hoping Clemson can pull that off. I really liked South Dakota State last year in the tournament. If I'm not mistaken, they made it past the second round. Ohio State, I haven't watched them. I think they lost their point guard that's been their rock throughout the past, 4 or 5. It seems like he's been around for 5 years. So I went with South Dakota State. Gonzaga beating UNCG. Here's another upset I have that this might be a huge mistake. But I have San Diego State beating Houston. I just have always liked San Diego State. I guess I've liked them since Kawhi Leonard came out of there because he's my favorite NBA player. So I've got San Diego State upsetting Houston. Michigan moving on, beating Montana. Texas A&M winning, and of course the defending champions, North Carolina. So that was my West bracket. We'll move over to East. Villanova beating Radford. Alabama. Coach Avery Johnson, and then their point guard, that Sexton kid. I really like Alabama. I have them over Virginia Tech, but I'm hoping that they can beat Villanova, even though I have Villanova going to the Final Four. I think that would be an awesome upset to see Alabama and Villanova. I doubt they can pull it off, but I think Coach Avery Johnson is a genius. I wish he was still coaching in the NBA. So I think he might be able to pull off, well, I don't know. It'll be a fun game to watch. I definitely think he'll get the first round game, though, easily with his coaching and okay, we had a little bit of a bad connection. This is actually my first YouTube live video that I've ever done. So then after Alabama, you've got West Virginia, Murray. I've got West Virginia beating them. Wichita State, I think their coach is awesome. He's been proving himself over and over in the tournament, and I think he'll do the same this year. I've actually got in the second round Wichita State beating West Virginia, and I don't know if that's feasible. I don't know. I haven't watched enough games to really know, but I just have always liked Wichita State since Baker left, and they've always been a solid team in the tournament. They seem to always win. So I went there. Florida, I think, is another team that has a chance to make it past the second round. I got Florida over St. Bonaventure, and then I've got Texas Tech winning, but then I've got Florida beating Texas Tech. And I have them also beating Purdue. So Florida I've got in the Elite Eight, which may be a huge mistake. And then I've got Villanova beating them to go to the Final Four. But I don't know what it is about Florida that I like, because usually I hate Florida. I may have watched a few videos that made me do that. So you can tell I'm no professional at picks, but I think Florida and Miami they're my 2 6 seeds that I have going to the Elite Eight. So having 2 6 seeds in the Elite Eight might also be a mistake, but I've got, in my Elite Eight, I've got 1 seed, a 6 seed, Gonzaga 4 seed, North Carolina 2 seed, Duke as a 2 seed, Kansas 1 seed, Florida again as a 6 seed and 1 seed. So I don't feel like it's that bad. I feel like this tournament's crazy enough. I always like making a few underdog picks just so when I'm watching the games, it gives me a little bit more to root for. I got Butler winning over Arkansas. I went back and forth like 3 or 4 times on that pick, and I just went with Butler because I like them better. Purdue, I'm not really sold on Purdue. Their big guy, he's good, but he's so clumsy and slow. I think if you get a fast-paced team to play against them, they're going to lose, and that's what I'm hoping Florida will do. I think that's why I picked Florida to go to the Elite Eight, because I don't think Butler's going to beat Purdue. They play slower. I think if you can run that big guy, and they rely pretty heavily on feeding him in the post, I think that's why I picked Florida over Purdue in the Sweet 16. I'm not a fan of Purdue, really. They have a few shooting guards that are good. Their big guy, he really is a good player, but I just think that the emotions are so high in this tournament that teams play a lot faster, and I think he's going to get worn out pretty easily. He's got great footwork. He's just not very agile and quick up and down the floor. But if you get him in a half-court set, he can really take it to you. Kansas, I picked Seton Hall. I think could beat Kansas in the second round. I actually picked Kansas, but I'm hoping that Seton Hall can pull it off. Then NC State I hear is good too, but I don't know enough. 60, man, my bracket got all mixed up. My final score, finished bracket, yeah. I thought it got saved. Oh my gosh. Okay, it just got me out of my bracket. Hang on, let me get back in there. So if you can't tell, I won't give it away yet. Okay, so after Seton Hall, Clemson, I'm hoping can beat New Mexico State. That's the one I'm a little bit nervous about with the 12-5s. 12-5s are always hard to pick. I think really the only 12-5 that's a given, I think West Virginia will really win. Then you got UK, Davidson, and yeah, South Dakota, Ohio I picked. So I've got two 12-5s. So I think Clemson can do it, but Auburn and Charleston, I picked Auburn. I actually picked Auburn to move on and play Kansas. Kansas beats them. I think Kansas has a pretty easy road. Besides Seton Hall, I think Seton Hall might be their hardest game until Duke. And then TCU I picked, Michigan State, which I think these are both just... I don't think Arizona State or Syracuse can beat TCU. I don't think Bucknell's going to beat Michigan. But then again, that's why it's called March Madness. So Michigan State, I've got moving on. Rhode Island over Oklahoma. I really don't get why Oklahoma made the tournament after losing that many games. Even if they have Trae Young, I really think Trae Young's overrated. He got hot. It's like Jeremy Lin got hot. He got hot for a little while, but he's just so small, and teams have figured him out. It obviously wasn't that hard to figure him out, and just based on the reactions when he made when they made the tournament, on the team reactions, he kind of sat there and did this thing, and I don't know if anybody saw that, but it looked like he was celebrating by himself. The whole team was celebrating. He's on his own. I just think I don't think they have enough chemistry. I don't feel like his team really looks to him probably as much as they used to. I don't know. That's just my speculation. And then I got Duke moving on. So Duke beats Rhode Island. You got Duke and Michigan State. I'm going with Duke. I love Duke's team this year. They're big guys. Grayson Allen. What's their other guy with the big fro? Buckley. Anyways, they've got a great team. So I've got them beating Kansas all the way going to the Final Four. And then back over on the South bracket, this one is so jumbly. I feel like Virginia, Arizona are the two best teams over there. And I really want Miami to win, but I've got Virginia coming out of that bracket. Virginia and Miami in the Elite Eight. I could be wrong with Tennessee. If I were to pick someone else, I'd have Tennessee in there, but I really like Miami, and I think that they're going to come to play. They play, when they're focused, they play really well, and I think they will be. Then you've got out of the West bracket, Xavier, Gonzaga. I have Gonzaga beating Xavier just because I like Gonzaga. They've handed it to a couple teams, so I hope Gonzaga can make it out of there. And then I got North Carolina. I think they'll beat Michigan. After watching the Duke and North Carolina game, I really like North Carolina. So you move on. I've got North Carolina beating Gonzaga to get to the Final Four. I've got Virginia beating Miami to get to the Final Four. I've got Villanova beating Florida to get to the Final Four, and I've got Duke beating Kansas. So you got Villanova versus Duke and Virginia versus North Carolina. Now, Villanova is favored to win the whole thing, but I picked Duke and North Carolina to make it to the championship because I really want to see this game. Watching their tournament championship and how hard they played, I think it would be great for the tournament to have these two teams meet up. Obviously, the rivalry would be awesome. And I have North Carolina coming out on top again just because I'm not a Duke fan. But I think Duke might have the better team than North Carolina. Actually, I really do think Duke has a better team than North Carolina, but I want North Carolina to win, so that's why I picked them. And I had it 63-61, 2-point game. This goes down as a classic. So comment below what you think's ridiculous in my bracket picks, or maybe what your pick is. If you want to join my bracket, it is on the bracket challenge, the live bracket. If you type in Coach Wheeler, you can join my bracket. I'm giving away, the winner gets a package of Doritos. You can pick your flavor, queso dip, and a package of Oreos. Healthy, I know. So I'm excited for this to start. I know we got the playing games tonight, but tomorrow the madness begins. Yeah!